Our senses allow us to learn, to protect ourselves, and to enjoy the world. Can you imagine what it would be like to live your life without any of your senses? The senses usually work together to give us a clear picture of the things around us. If one sense is not working due to an accident or an illness, then other senses will take over and become stronger to make up for the missing sense. The 5 senses are taste, sight, touch, smell, and hearing. But today we'll focus on touch. The sense of touch is spread throughout the whole body. Nerve endings in the skin and other parts of the body send information to the brain. There are 4 kinds of touch sensations that can be identified: cold, heat, contact, and pain. Hair on the skin increase the sensitivity and can act as an early warning system for the body. The fingertips have a greater concentration of nerve endings. Our skin is the largest organ in our body and contains the most nerve endings. Now on to what organs are involved with the sense of touch. Skin is an organ in itself, and your skin is made of layers of fat, stacked cells that are laid down into thin sheets. The 3 layers of skin are the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. Skin constantly renews itself by new skin cells pushing upwards, causing the older cells to fall off. There are 5 major structures within your skin that help you with your sense of touch. This includes the free nerve ending, Merkel's disc, Ruffini corpuscle, Meissner's corpuscle, and Pacinian corpuscle. With a free nerve ending is an unspecialized afferent nerve ending, meaning it brings information from the body's periphery up toward the brain. They function as cutaneous receptors and are essentially used by vertebrates to detect pain. They can perceive pain, touch, and temperature. They can be found in the epithelial layer of the skin. As for Merkel's disc, Merkel's nerve endings are clustered into specialized epithelial structures called touch domes or hair discs. Some other types of mechanoreceptors, such as Pacinian corpuscles or Ruffini endings, are found primarily in the subcutaneous tissue. Merkel receptors are also located in the mammillary glands. They respond to light pressure. They can be found in the epithelial layer of the skin. They can perceive fine differences in location as a process known as 2-point discrimination. This is what enables people to read Braille with their fingers. With the Ruffini corpuscle is slowly adapting mechanoreceptor found in the cutaneous tissue of humans. It is named after Angelo Ruffini. They respond to touch and pressure. They are found deeper within the skin in the subcutaneous layers. They are known to be sensitive to changes in the angle, and as such, they also carry a proprioceptive role involving in telling the brain where the fingers are located in space. Meissner's corpuscle. These include the senses mentioned before, as well as the flutter and stroking receptor, which is associated with the corpuscle. They too are involved with 2-point discrimination. They are usually found in the hairless portions of your skin, such as the palm of your hand and your fingers. Now, with the physiology of the sense of touch, the various tactile receptors are attached to a range of nerve types. Most receptors in the A beta fibers to transmit their signals. These transmit information rapidly. The receptors are responsible for sensing crude touch and pressure and have a wide receptive field. That is, they gather information from a relatively large area of the skin. As a result, it is not possible to locate the source of the stimulus very precisely using these receptors, nor to gain much information about the stimulus. The receptors for fine touch and pressure are extremely sensitive and have narrow receptive fields. This enables them to provide detailed information about a source of touch stimulation, including its precise location, shape, size, and texture, as well as movement. From there, it travels to the brain. In the brain, all the rich touch information being delivered from all the parts of the body is integrated and processed in the primary sensory cortex. The signals are sorted by nature of the receptors, pain, temperature, and so on. Underneath each cell group is a set of columnar brain structures devoted to touch. As the signal moves deeper, it becomes more precise. The brain recognizes edges and motion, for example, and pattern recognition occurs. We use this information of sense of touch to tell us the world around us. This is known as haptic perception. Haptic perception integrates somatosensory information from touch, which cannot be gained from looking at an object, such as hardness, texture, temperature, as well as weight. A little fact, With the mystery of tickles and itches, just to get it straight, it is all in your mind. Well, kinda. The senses of tickle and itch are closely related to touch and pain. The receptors involved in both of these sensations are free nerve endings, and the information is carried by slow nerve fibers. Tickle sensations are produced by a light touch moving across the skin. They are usually, but not always, described as pleasurable. There are large differences in people's sensitivity to tickling, and psychological factors may play an important part in interpreting the tickle sensation. Now, the sensation of itching appears to be produced by the stimulation of the same free nerve ending receptors as tickling, although that the precise details are not clear. Specific itch spots can be mapped on the skin. Now, age affects the sense of touch. People become less aware of the touch sensations as they age because the touch receptors are lost during life. At the age of 10, most people have about 50 touch receptors per square millimeter of the skin. By the age of 50, this has declined to about 25, and only about 10 per square milliliter by the age of 70. Sensitivity to tactile information can be altered by infection, disease, or damage to the sensory neuron pathways. The mapping tactile of the responses can sometimes aid the clinical assessment. 2-point discrimination tests, this is like what we did in one of our labs, is used to generate more detailed sensory map of the tactile receptors. With vibration receptors, they can be tested by applying the base of a tuning fork to the skin. Damage to an individual's spinal cord produces insensitivity to vibration along the paths that are related to the sensory nerves. If a sensory loss results from spinal cord damage, this injury site can typically be located by walking, defining sensitivity. A number of terms are used to describe the level of sensitivity in an area of a body. Anesthesia means the total loss of sensation. The individual cannot perceive, touch, pressure, pain, or temperature, sensations that were brought by that area. Hypoesthesia is a reduction of that sensitivity, and paresthesia is the presence of abnormal sensations, such as pins and needles, when an arm or leg, quote-unquote, falls asleep during pressure due to a peripheral nerve. Now on to why humans have this sense. Our sense of touch allows us to receive information from our internal and external environments, making it important for sensory perception. It also forms a protective layer from bacteria and fungi out. This is more related to the organ of the skin. This also stops the body from drying out, which is also known as desiccation. Like I said before, the purpose of the humans to have this sense is to have spatial awareness and tactile observation of objects around them. Moving on to the top 3 pathologies that I found that are involved for this sense. This includes pathologies that are in the skin. Now these 3 are acne, eczema, and skin cancer. Acne is a skin disorder that causes pimples when the passageway that connects the skin pores to the oil glands becomes clogged. Acne appears most often on the face, neck, shoulders, chest, back, and can come in many forms. Whiteheads and blackheads are the most commonly known. Nodular and cystic acne are more severe because they form deep within the skin and can cause scars. The cure? Treatments include over-the-counter creams and cleanser, and benzoyl peroxide with salicylic acid to affected area. You can also use salicylic acid to the affected area, which is also known as Neutrogena. As for eczema, atopic dermatitis is the most common and is seen most often in children. 1 to 3% of adults compared to 10 to 20% of children have this long-term genetic disease, which causes itchy rashes in the crux of the elbows and behind the knees. Allergic contact dermatitis begins to show in adulthood and is caused by environmental factors such as cosmetic agents, fragrances, and the metals in jewelry. Although there are ways to prevent eczema, which include to moisturize every day, wear cotton or soft fabrics, gently pat your skin dry with soft towels, applying moisturizer or special creams when possible. Now lastly, with skin cancer. Skin cancer is the most common type of cancer in the United States. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, 1 million people are diagnosed with skin cancer annually, and 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer in their lifetime. Basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma are the most common types of skin cancer, but 75% of skin cancer deaths are from melanoma. The cure? There is no cure. Comparing and contrasting with how this sense is important within early hominids and modern humans. We emerge with big brains and adaptive vocal apparatus, closely tied with communities, and metaphoric language for the sense of touch, gesture, and dance. I hypothesize that it was an ambidextrous culture, characterized by kinesthetic or physical language that were used in both hemispheres when communicating using symbol or metaphor, communicating often through ritual and myth. Within modern humans, when it comes to social situations, the primary purpose of touch is to forge trust and cooperation. Friendly touch communicates to someone, "You can trust me." Research has found that players on sports teams that have lots of celebrity touch tend to perform better, while studies have shown that in romantic relationships, touch, both sexual and non-sexual, is enormously important. Now, is the sense becoming stronger or weaker over time? Like I said before, the 2-point discrimination deteriorates over time. And unfortunately, like eyesight and hearing, our sense of touch is vulnerable to the effects of age. The touch sense steadily deteriorates as we get older, starting at around age 18. Every year we lose about 1% of our tactile sense. Part of the reason that elderly people are so prone to falls is that they are getting less tactile information from the soles of their feet. One of the ways for elderly to combat falling is usually to go barefoot so that they have a better sense of the ground. Now, lastly, is this sense evolving? Skin, like the rest of our bodies and our behaviors, is a product of evolution. Most of these things we can take for granted, but the overall quote-unquote evolution for the sense of touch will depend on whether our bodies will need it in the future. If the environment and technology calls for a need of this sense, then naturally our bodies will adapt. But if not, well, we risk losing it.